If I had the wings of the dove, I'd look above and just fly away, fly away. If things got rough and just too much, I'd say enough and simply fly away, fly away, fly, fly, fly away. Hey, what's good, people, man? Platinum Billy Dread in my house, man. Just got my guitar out. But talking to fly away, question, man. Don't you ever feel like you want to fly away or run away from a situation that you feel keeps reoccurring, and just by running away from it, it'll just disappear almost? And that's not to sound condescending or nothing, because I'm sure we've all been there. For example, you get a certain person who keeps on taking advantage of you, or a certain person or being in a relationship where you keep on attracting physically abusive men or women, or people that keep on bullying you, so to speak. All those things that keep recurring, and it keeps happening in different places and amongst different people. And now there's a spiritual law, if you like, that says that incidents or experiences will keep on repeating itself in different people, in different surroundings, until we learn the lesson from it. Case in point, imagine a child who constantly keeps getting bullied, and they move the child to another school, and it happens again. No matter how many times they tell the head teacher and stuff like that, it just keeps happening. And then one day the parent says, "Look, son, or daughter, you're gonna have to look at this square on, and not run away from the fact that maybe, just maybe, there's something that needs corrected within yourself. There's nothing wrong with you, but maybe there's something inside you that they see that others keep seeing. And you need to let that person know firmly that if you continue to do this, I'm assuring you that it's not going to result in something that you like. In other words, I'm going to make this experience as uncomfortable as I possibly can, so that you won't ever repeat this again." Now that can mean you're going to smack them back, which I'm all about anyway. But if you're scared, which is a real thing, then you tell someone, and they get, you see what I mean? So in other words, that bully doesn't get to walk away off, smug, and maybe go and bully someone else. There's been a negative outcome that resulted in pain, whether you told a teacher and they got expelled from the school, or whether you smacked him yourself, or whether, you know what I mean? And so that cycle has now stopped, because not only have you shown that bully that something will happen as a result of it. We're not necessarily talking about fighting or anything like that, but in other words, it hasn't come without repercussion. But even more importantly, something within yourself has gained confidence and strength, because now you've been able to realize, no, I can't. What you've put up for so long, and how you have something in you strong enough to change that cycle of events, and it changed. And remember, that can be applied in all instances, whether that be standing up to a boss, and you leave the job because you don't like the boss, and you see another boss like that, or co-workers, or being in a relationship and you just go from one relationship to another relationship, and they're doing exactly the same thing. And so, the part of you, again, says, this ain't going to be an easy ride for you one way or another. In other words, the end result is going to be uncomfortable for you. And that uncomfortable meaning, depending on what you want to do about the situation, but it's not one thing that's going to just carry on. And until I look at square on rather than run away, which is what most of us do, it will repeat itself in another surrounding and in another person. It's a hard lesson, man, but it's the real deal, man. If I use myself as an example, I remember when I was also the kind of guy that, I want a typical, what you want to call it, alpha male, beating the chest like a gorilla. I wasn't into football. I wasn't into the lads type of thing. I was more like a reader, intellectual, and I preferred conversation with girls rather than chasing them. So I kind of didn't fit the mold, if you like. And as I grew, it got worse because I tried to fit in. I tried to play football, got shouted at because I couldn't kick the ball straight. And, I tried to, do the chasing of the girls thing, which comes naturally, but I never found it as enjoyable as getting to know them in intellectual conversation and then going from there. So I always tried to do what was the end thing, if you like. But I always found like I was the odd one out as a result of it. I just didn't fit. And it just continued, and it was interesting because one day when my partner was pregnant, I remember saying to myself that, please let them be girls, because that's what I know. I've got sisters, I've got brothers too, but I'm closer in age to my sisters, so I spent more time talking to them. So I was saying, please let the scan show girls when it came to the scan now. And not only did the scan show a boy, it showed two boys. Yeah, man. So my heart kind of sunk because I didn't know. I said to myself, what am I going to give boys? I rarely know how to deal with myself as a man. I had no real example, so I didn't know what I was going to give them. I couldn't play football, all those kind of things. So again, I wanted to run away and hide, but I couldn't, obviously, because these boys are going to be born. But a strange thing happened because as they grew, they're still young now, but as they grew from babies, I found myself doing those things anyway, playing football, the rough and tumble, but in a way that was, I don't know, non-competitive, I don't know what the word is. It was just a natural process to do those things, rough and tumble. And all the things that I assumed that weren't me. And maybe it was because just as much as me teaching them, they were teaching me to be myself and to stand in my center. And it was a really liberating thing because as they grew, and like I said, they're still young, the more and more I became comfortable with the way I had always been without realizing it. And it took that for me to stop running and trying to fit in with everyone else. And another example is when I grew my locks. I remember when, because I would always tailor myself to to what a person likes, particularly females. If they said to me, "Oh, you don't really look nice with that beard, and you should shave it off," because I didn't want to, the fear of not being wanted, if you like. So I'd run away from the fact that I was uncomfortable with what they asked me to do. I'd run away from it and just change. But then one day, I got a bit tired of going to the barbers every 2 weeks and, the shears and all that kind of stuff, haircut. And I decided to just locks up. And it's interesting because those same girls were saying again, you should cut your locks, it looks ugly and all that. But the moment I began to stand in that and stop running away, they began to drift off. They were no longer part of the picture, and a new type of female, if you like, came in the picture. And there was nothing to be said because it's almost like they took me on board based on how I looked. I didn't have to justify it. I didn't have to hope that they liked it because now I'd stood in my core self and stopped running for myself. Whoever was attracted to me was attracted to my whole self, if that made sense. And it was so much pleasant and easier. And again, that was a lesson for me and for us, that if we keep running from something, it's going to keep presenting itself over and over and over until we learn the lesson. And when I say to my son, when he says to me, well, the girls are more mature than the boys, and and I thought, and they make fun because sometimes I'm also with the girls. I said, that's totally cool. Because at the end of the day, I don't want you to change yourself. The right kind of guy that's like you, that resonates with you, will come along. And right now, if it means that girls are more on your wavelength, don't you dare adjust yourself for them. Because they can see you for what you are. Maybe they're just quicker at it. But sooner or later, you'll get guys that will be just like you, basically, in terms of, maturity level and a bit like their dad. And, the moment he was able to do that, things began to change for him. He didn't feel like he was older than her. He just, he accepted who gravitated to him. And I'm saying this and laughing because I don't know if I said it in my other post that I remember when my boy was about 3, nursery, and he was walking around with pushchair and a little dolly. we got pictures of it anyway, and I'm sure he had clogs on, yeah. And a part of me, that alpha male in me, was like, oh man, gosh, a little bit worried, man. But then I had to trust that process in the same way I had to trust my own process, because I was learning. And then he grew out of it. He grew out of it, and it was one of the greatest things I did, because again, it made me look at myself and say, this is not about them. This is so much about me. And the more I can allow them to be themselves, the more I'm being myself. That makes sense. But anyway, Platinum Bearded Dread, man. I hope that I won't too much. Tales from my house. And I guess just being yourself, man. Yeah, man.